Hi and welcome everyone. In today's news, public schools in America are replacing history classes with climate change courses, sparking major controversy. The EU is actively trying to poach top American talent in response to Trump's new anti-STEM policies. Student loan default payments are officially resuming, a move that's drawing heavy criticism from borrowers. And finally, the US government is planning to impose tariffs on foreign films, with the Trump administration citing national security as the reason. Let's get into it. Debates are intensifying over educational priorities in America's classrooms.
I'm sure you've heard the classic quote, which is that, those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it, right? I'm sure we've all heard this one. Has anyone heard the updated addition to it? Right, good. Those who intentionally block you from learning history intend to repeat it.
This warning comes as education experts express growing concern about the fundamental shift in how we teach our nation's past to the next generation. Recent surveys indicate nearly 40% of schools are reducing traditional history curriculum hours to accommodate expanded climate education initiatives. The debate has intensified following the Columbia Climate School's push for integrating climate justice into urban planning and policy. Professor Sheila Foster, who researches environmental justice at Columbia, exemplifies this approach.
We're living in a time where most of the world's inhabitants live in cities. Cities are also the first responders with regard to not just the impacts of climate change, but also the solutions. And so that is an opportunity to make sure that cities are not just listening to frontline communities, but actually working actively with them to co-create solutions.
But critics argue this represents a concerning shift away from traditional history education that could leave students without crucial context for understanding society's development. Dr. Miranda Langley, education policy analyst at the Center for Academic Freedom, points to alarming statistics. Her research shows students in revised curriculum districts score 23% lower on standardized history assessments compared to peers in traditional programs. The debate extends beyond academic circles, with political figures weighing in on both sides. Conservative commentators have pointed to economic history as evidence for traditional curriculum emphasis.
This is why we study history, right? Is to learn the lessons from history.
Meanwhile, progressive educators argue that climate education represents an essential evolution in preparing students for future challenges. A coalition of 32 school districts announced plans to implement climate-forward curriculum by fall 2025, reducing traditional history instruction by up to 45% to accommodate expanded environmental content. The clash over curriculum priorities reflects deeper tensions about what knowledge will best prepare the next generation for an uncertain future. As school districts across the country make these pivotal decisions, the question remains, can we effectively address tomorrow's challenges without a comprehensive understanding of yesterday's lessons? While that debate rages in US classrooms, a different kind of shift is taking shape across the Atlantic. This time, in the world of science, Europe is extending a $500 million welcome mat to American scientists feeling the squeeze from the Trump administration cutbacks. The European Union has announced a €500 million package, that's approximately $567 million, specifically designed to attract US researchers facing funding uncertainty at home. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled the initiative today at Paris's historic Sorbonne University, making Europe's ambitions crystal clear.
And this is why Europe is open to the best and brightest. This is why we will make proposals to help them choose Europe. Because we want scientists and researchers from all over the world to make Europe their home and to make Europe the home of innovation again.
The timing is no coincidence. Since January, the Trump administration has implemented sweeping cuts to federal science agencies, leaving thousands of researchers in limbo. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and National Institutes of Health have been particularly hard hit, with layoffs affecting even probationary workers studying critical issues like sustainable fishing. The numbers reveal a potential exodus. A Nature survey indicates over 1,200 US scientists are actively considering relocating to Europe or Canada, with nearly 2,000 leading researchers signing a letter urging the administration to halt what they call an assault on US science. Europe isn't just waiting, it's actively recruiting. 13 EU countries have signed a joint letter urging quick action to capitalize on this moment. France's renowned CNRS research agency has launched a program specifically targeting scientists unwilling to work in Trump's United States, while Germany's coalition talks include plans to recruit up to 1,000 researchers. At Aix-Marseille University, the Safe Place for Science program has been overwhelmed with applications, receiving nearly 300 inquiries from American researchers researchers in just 6 weeks. But European officials aren't just appealing to researchers' financial needs, they're highlighting values. Dutch member of the European Parliament Anna Strollenberg made this explicit.
A society that silences academics is a society in decline. A society that censors research on climate change and gender is a society in decline. Academic freedom is not a privilege, it's a condition to do your job.
She continued with a direct appeal to her fellow Europeans.
So to all our European leaders, to the European Commission, I have a message. We can feel sorry for all those academics in the US, or we can provide them with something better. A place where research is valued, a place where academic freedom is protected.
Some economists warn this talent exodus could have lasting consequences for American innovation. Gray McDowell of Capgemini Invent called the situation a perfect storm for brain drain that risks undermining decades of US leadership in critical research fields. For the scientists caught in the middle, the decision is both professional and deeply personal. Quantum physicist Marianne Shelton, who recently accepted a position at Germany's Max Planck Institute, summed up the sentiment shared by many. Science thrives on stability and freedom. Right now, Europe is offering both, but while researchers are chasing stability abroad, Americans back home are bracing for impact. This time, not in the lab, but in their wallets. 5-year reprieve for federal student loan borrowers in default has officially ended. Beginning today, May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections on defaulted federal student loans, impacting millions of Americans who haven't made payments since the COVID-19 pandemic began.
On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers.
The numbers paint a troubling picture. Approximately 5.3 million borrowers are currently in default, meaning they haven't made payments in over 360 days. Another 4 million are in late-stage delinquency. Education Department officials project up to 10 million borrowers could be in default within months, representing a quarter of the federal student loan portfolio. The resumption comes amid complicated circumstances for borrowers. The Biden administration's Save Repayment Plan, which enrolled 8 million borrowers, was frozen last August due to legal challenges. Many who enrolled remain in limbo, unable to make payments or access forgiveness options. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon defended the move as necessary fiscal responsibility.
Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them.
The impact may disproportionately affect certain communities. Studies show Black and Latino borrowers face higher default rates due to systemic wealth gaps. The New York Federal Reserve estimates over 9 million borrowers could see significant credit score drops in the first half of 2025. Experts warn of broader economic consequences. When regular payments resumed in 2023, they drained an estimated $15.7 billion monthly from discretionary spending. Collections could amplify this effect, particularly amid concerns about economic stability. For borrowers facing collections, options exist, but require quick action. The Department of Education recommends exploring loan rehabilitation, consolidation, or income-driven repayment plans by contacting the Default Resolution Group immediately. And finally, Hollywood may be the next battleground, as the Trump administration sets its sights on the global film industry. Hollywood is bracing for a potential seismic shift as President Trump announced plans to impose a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. The declaration, made yesterday via Truth Social, frames foreign film production as nothing less than a national security issue.
Yeah, the movie tariffs, what they've done is other nations have been stealing the movie-making capabilities from the United States. And I said to a couple of people, what do you think? I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we're making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed. Now, you have an incompetent, grossly incompetent governor that allowed that to happen. So I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them, have stolen our movie industry. And I'm saying, if they're not willing to make a movie inside the United States, then we should have a tariff on movies that come in.
In his announcement, Trump directed the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative to immediately begin implementing the tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands, concluding with, "We want movies made in America again." The numbers behind this decision paint a concerning picture for domestic production. Film LA reports that film and television production in Los Angeles has fallen by nearly 40% over the past decade, largely due to generous incentives offered by countries like Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. These incentives often include tax credits ranging from 20 to 40%. In 2023 alone, about half of US producers' spending on projects with budgets over $40 million went overseas, despite feature film production in Los Angeles seeing an 18.8% increase in 2024. Trump's rationale extends beyond economics into the realm of national security. He labeled foreign films as vehicles for messaging and propaganda, claiming their production represents a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. This approach has already sparked international concern. Australian Arts Minister Anthony Burke and New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon have expressed alarm, vowing to protect their film industries, which have benefited significantly from U.S. productions like Marvel films and the Lord of the Rings franchise. Legal experts raise additional concerns. William Reich, a former senior commerce official, warned that retaliation from other countries could devastate the U.S. industry, which relies heavily on global markets. The tariff could also conflict with World Trade Organization rules, including a moratorium on digital goods tariffs through 2026. The economic consequences could be far-reaching. A 100% tariff would likely raise costs for theaters and streaming services, potentially increasing ticket prices or subscription fees and reducing audience access. Independent films, often reliant on international co-productions, might be particularly vulnerable. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.